I'm Rachel Horgan. Join me each episode as I sit down with a guest co-host covering the latest business stories in the Seattle area. We'll read the news so you don't have to. This is The Weekly. Hello, everybody. I just came from KUOW studio. I got invited back. That's right. I got a call back for the Casual Friday show that they do. So that'll come out Friday. It's already out by the time this episode comes out. Very cool, very different format. It was fun to kind of flex my muscles a bit with, it almost feels like TV and that you have to answer a little bit in sound bites. And I think that's just good practice for me. So, but I will not be doing that today. We'll be yapping today. The other thing is that if you guys remember the Olympic Athletic Club episode, after we did that, the GM took me on a full tour and I was sold. I signed up for the gym and it's been 2 days and I've told everyone who will listen that I go to the gym now. So I'm a big new year, new me kind of gal. And I think the last thing I'll say before I introduce my guest is that I am looking for corporate event planning work in 2026. I'm open for work. I've got a couple clients, but there's some space. So if you're thinking of needing some help or you know somebody that does, reach out. All right. I'm here with Scott Stulen, CEO of Seattle Art Museum. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Yeah? Feeling good? We got a break in the rain in the atmospheric river.
I know. It was like real raining.
I know.
It's, for like new to Seattle, it was one of the things, like it doesn't rain here all the time like people think.
People think
You just kind of miss all the time.
I know.
But this was real rain.
That's true. That's true. I also want to say that we are sitting here at Carey Hall at STG. STG took this over about a year ago from Cornish College of the Arts. When I did a tour of the space, sort of for event planning, but also just to get to know the space, they have a podcast studio, and they were gracious enough to let us use it. I told them it's kind of a trial and error, see what happens. Scott and I were talking a little bit about how with certain things, you just have to try something and see what happens. So we noticed that some of the pictures in the background, once we put them on social media, it was a little distracting. So we're testing things out. But I want to say thank you to Carey Hall and STG for hosting us. So Scott, a little bit about you. Prior to coming to Seattle, it was about a year and a half ago you came into this. Yeah. So before that, you were the CEO of Philbrook Museum in Tulsa. You were a curator at the Indianapolis Museum of Art. And as you keep scrolling through LinkedIn, just leadership position after leadership position in the arts. So you've always kind of had that history. I do also want to mention that you are currently also an artist and a DJ yourself.
That's right.
So you know kind of both sides of it. But like I said, you have this long history of working in the arts. Why did that come about? Why are you passionate about that?
It's accidental. I kind of fell into it. Yeah. So I went to school. My undergrad degrees in sculpture, my master's in painting and drawing. I wanted to be an artist and just make my work.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that probably wasn't high likelihood, I wanted to teach. And I ended up getting a summer job at a museum and teaching elementary school kids like contemporary art. And they ended up having a grant that fall and hired me to come and basically do education programming. And I found out this whole world I wasn't even aware of, which is museums. And from there, I kind of was recruited to other positions and did a lot in programming, did a lot in performing arts curating, and then eventually became a director.
Did you ever want to go back to teaching?
There's parts, yeah. I thought I was going to go back to teaching for about 10 years. And then I did this Internet Cat Video Festival, which is a whole nother story on itself.
We should talk about that, yeah.
But really what happened is I got offered a curatorial position to come and build my own curatorial department in Indianapolis. And that was the point of which I was applying for teaching jobs at the time. And I said, all right, teaching is over here now, and this is the calling, and I'm going to go into that side.
Yeah, it's like the universe was guiding you this direction.
That's
You're
right.
like, no, okay.
Yes.
And then before we get into the articles, why specifically Sam? I listened to a couple podcast episodes you were on, and I know you were recruited.
Yes.
But what ultimately made you say yes to this? Was it just the money, or?
Money helps.
Yeah.
But no, really, my wife and I would always hoped we'd kind of end up in the Pacific Northwest. We looked at this even in the late 90s, along with half the country. I'm moving to Seattle, but it was, this was a museum that I looked at in a community that I thought I'd be a really good fit for. So when they did recruit me for the position, it's one of those things where you kind of hope it was maybe meant to be and happen. So I love Sam. I love the city of Seattle. All the time we've been here, it's been even more now that we've actually moved here and kind of are living here. It's only grown more as we've been here. But I think there's just so much potential with Sam, too, that we've barely scratched the surface and things we can do, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But also that I think this is a really unique time to be in Seattle, where there's a lot of things happening. We're kind of at a bit of a crossroads, I think, too. And I want to be part of that.
Yeah.
Make stuff happen.
You sound like a strong manifester. If you want something, you put it out in the universe and it happens. Okay, so we're going to talk about three articles categories today. The first one is the business of museums. So we're going to learn all about Sam and some of the things he mentioned earlier. Then we'll talk about FIFA games were announced. So we've got a few here in Seattle. And lastly, we'll talk about Chateau Ste. Michelle has a new owner. I just want to say in December, if people that don't know this, it's typically a slow time for business news, which I think last year, it just gives me a little bit more freedom to talk about a few different things that I think are important with our guests. So that's what we'll be talking about. So Scott, are you ready to jump into it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so the first one, there are a couple articles I'll put here that I might be referencing, but the whole thing is just about museums and how they work. So why don't you start by giving us a little bit of a breakdown of how SAM is funded between donors, ticket sales, grants? Like, what's that breakdown like?
So I'll do it very simply. About 20% is an endowment. So I have a $200 million endowment that rolls off about 5% every year. That funds about 20%.
Okay.
So then we have another about roughly 20% that is earned. So that's ticket sales. You come up and just buy a ticket. That's rentals. That's the retail shop. It's anything that basically are a separate ticket. And then everything else is what we call contributed income. So that is membership, buying a membership to the museum. That's people giving us money to support the museum. All the philanthropic work and foundations are there. And a little bit of government funding is in that bucket too. So that's about 60%.
Okay.
And we're about a $42 million operating budget.
$42 million. Wow. Okay. And how have you seen funding change? Is that percentage how it's always been, or what's different these days?
For Sam, it's kind of what it's been. Now, I think where we're seeing a shift is more of that earned, having to carry more of that load, and the contributed is starting to go down a little bit. And there's a lot of factors inside of that, how people are choosing to give money. Younger generations give different than their parents and their grandparents. So we're seeing some of that happening. And then we're seeing things like all of our federal funding was cut this year.
Right.
So
I was going to ask how that affected you, because I didn't know how much was going to you.
We did have, I will say this, is that we've had it all cut, and now there's been court cases working through, and we're getting some of it back. So pretty much everything prior to the administration that was approved, I think eventually we're going to get it as it gets through the court system. Everything going forward, we've already had rejections of grants. That's not happening. So for us, it's not as much as some other organizations, but it's still hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's also something you can't count on. Like you're saying, you think you're going to get it back, but when you're planning, for you, you're probably planning 2-3 years out.
Correct.
You can't.
Yeah, it's about a $700,000 hit over a couple of years. So,
okay. Yeah. Well, so speaking of funding and expenses, what types of expenses do museums and SAM in particular experience that we may not know about? Like the opera was talking about how expensive it is to move equipment across the U.S.
Right.
What about for you?
So for us, I mean, labor is 56% of that big bucket, which you'd assume. So that's the thing, you assume. The things maybe you wouldn't expect. Shipping is huge. And shipping has gone way up.
Really?
So the inflation on shipping has been like 20% in some cases, sometimes higher. Event production has gone way up, which you probably know.
Yes.
But then there's other areas that maybe people don't think about as much, like insurance, like art insurance has gone up. And there's things that have been drivers there, particularly museums. Like I use California, for example, a lot of collections and museums there due to wildfires. The art insurance has gone up.
Right.
So all these things are factors that are part of that. So that's something that maybe people don't always think about. And then there's just those general operations of running any sort of large property. We have those same things. And then art storage. So this is the one you don't think about maybe, but we show about 3 to 4% of the collection that's on the walls that you see.
Okay.
So 95% of it's in storage.
On site in Seattle?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
So that is, all of that work needs to be secure, climate controlled, and protected where it is. And that also is a cost that, some works on paper and photographs, for example, those can only be out for about 6 months, and then you need to rest for 5 years. And then they go back out.
Wow.
So if you've got photographs in your home hanging up on the wall in the bright sunlight, just think about that.
This happened to me. I had a name badge, and during COVID, I like to put all my name badges on my fridge. I don't know what that says about me, but it was a white name badge, and by the end of COVID, it was yellow.
Yep.
Just from the sunlight hitting it. Yeah.
So we were always kind of protecting against that, and UV glass and things that do that. But back to what your actual question was, the cost of storing all that work is one of those costs that you may not think of right away, but it's there. And as the collection grows, and it's really, there's a long process of actually deaccessioning or selling any artwork from it. That doesn't happen very often. So that collection grows, so that cost grows.
Why not ship it around to, I'm thinking about the zoo, and they trade animals all around, but why not move it?
We do that.
You guys hold on to that for a bit. And
we do, but storage, most places don't want to store your stuff for them.
Not store it, but you guys
We,
showcase,
we do,
because it
yeah.
has
We
to
should,
rest
yeah.
somewhere.
So,
I
and we have
see.
to rest somewhere, but we do show. So we are lending work all the time to other museums, and when we take work from other museums, so that's happening frequently. But the cost of doing that with the insurance and the
Right,
shipping
right.
have also gone up.
Yeah. You mentioned about kind of art and shifting around. How often are you changing out the exhibits? Is
Yeah.
that like quarterly or what?
So the exhibits, the big exhibits, so we do the big special exhibits. We were 3 a year, and now we're down to 2 a year. And
Okay.
part of the reason for that is due to cost.
Mm-hmm.
More museums are creating shows that are up longer and in place because of the cost to produce them. And then marketing's changed. So the marketing of how shows and how it takes to get into the community, to cut through all the noise and actually have people know about it just takes longer. So a lot of these things have kind of worked together to make shows that are up a little longer. So we're looking at 5 to 6 month runs for some shows, where in the past would have been 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
So 2 major shows. We have another 3 smaller shows we do every year, and then 2 shows at the Volunteer Park, the Asian Art Museum.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have special exhibits that pop up. We have temporary things at the Sculpture Park. There's a lot of smaller things inside of that. And then there's the collection itself, which we rotate depending on the work. Sometimes it's every couple of years, sometimes it's every couple months if it's works on paper or
Mm.
photographs. So the answer to that is that things are always changing
Mm-hmm.
in different spaces, but those big shows that you see, we do 2 big ones a year.
How do you think about repeat business? Because we were interviewing the hot tub guy, and I was like, "How do you have are you just trying to get everyone to buy one hot tub? Or are you trying to get people to buy? People don't usually buy multiple."
Yeah.
And then I think about the Space Needle. That's
Yeah.
one of those things. I'm not going all the time.
Hmm.
Is it so for museums? How do you look at people? Are you trying to get a bunch of people to come in once and hit the tourism market, or is it multiple people coming multiple times?
It's both. You need a balance, and it depends on which market you're in.
Mm,
So, maybe New York is a different market. So, their tourism, for example, drives a lot of it. So, the Met can basically say that we're going to have 10,000 new people every day because of the level of tourism. And then tomorrow we'll have 10,000 new people, and then 10,000 other people after that. Seattle, we're really looking at 85% of our audience coming is from the region. And
Oh,
so only 15% is really you have to put in that tourism bucket.
interesting.
Now, would we like to have that one go up? Yes. And
Sure.
I'm on the Visit Seattle board. I'm actually trying to work on that. I think ideally I'd like to have that be closer to 30% in that tourism, and then really thinking about 70%. But still, that means the majority of people are coming are here from the community. So that said, I want them coming more than once.
Yeah.
And it's a little difference between maybe a tourist attraction where you do go once, or you bring your family and friends and they visit town to it. We really want people coming to the museum multiple times over the course of the year, which also then makes membership a good deal.
Of course. Yeah.
And you all those things kind of fall into place. But I'm really trying to move the museum so away from that you come once every 4 years to see the one show that kind of gets on your radar, like, oh, I guess I need to go see that.
Yeah.
Right? To be a place where you're saying, well, I'm going to go, this week for the show, and then maybe I'm going to come another time for a dance party, and I'm going to come another time to
Okay.
see a film, and maybe I'm just going to go on my lunch hour and just recharge and walk through the galleries for 20 minutes. That's the type of experiences that I want to have, where it rewards you coming more
Mhm.
often,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a little less of that kind of I go to, the one big show.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of intentional action around that because that requires you to create new shows and create new
Correct.
things to come see.
That's right.
Uh, I want to talk about the stereotypes of art museums. You see
Yes.
it in TV shows and movies of
Uh-huh.
these elite galas and rich old people. And again, when I interviewed the opera, that was something he addressed too.
Mhm.
And he was talking about how he wants it to be for everyone. He's kind of actively doesn't want to not have those people. But
Right.
when you are thinking about Sam, what's your take on how to have it more accessible?
I mean, those stereotypes are real for a reason
Mhm,
because they
mhm.
tend to be reinforced over time. And, Sam has had a reputation here and of being very academic and being one of those places that isn't quite as approachable, maybe as other places. So I'm actively trying to dismantle that how we can. And this has been kind of my history at other museums I've been, is really having that focus. How do I think about a general audience? How do I think about the person that thinks museums aren't for me and I'm not interested? To change what the experience is coming in. It's not changing it into a theme park or changing it into something that it's not. We've had those for another reason.
Right.
But how do you make the museum experience feel accessible and approachable and fun? And, I learned something, but I also am entertained by it, and it's changing and dynamic. So some of those are really simple things like, where do I park? What door do I go in? Like,
Mm,
is there a chair to sit on? Can I get some food here? Can I bring kids here and not get yelled at? Can I, you know, if I don't understand something, will there be something to help me?
Yes.
Right?
No, it's so true. And even like parking here and seeing all the signage, it makes somebody feel more comfortable that they belong and they're not like, oh, I don't belong in this fancy place.
Absolutely. And museums have done this to themselves, to be
Mm.
honest. Like they
Okay.
really have. And contemporary museums in particular, and you'll go into a place and there'll be a red cube in the middle of the gallery. And you'll go to the label and like, what is this thing? And it says like Donald Judd, 1966 steel. And you're like, well, thank you. I
Okay,
mean, that does
cool.
nothing for me.
Right.
And that intent, there's so much said in that. If you're saying, if you don't know, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know, I'm not going to explain it to you.
Right.
Right. And it's very off-putting. It's basically saying you're not welcome if you don't understand.
Yeah.
And we want to make a space where there's entry points all throughout. If you don't like this exhibit, go next door and there's something totally different, and that's fine. You don't have to like everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
and
okay.
you can hopefully discover some new things with it. And it can be something that is far more playful. And we can talk about serious issues, but not take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah, well said. I think this is probably a good time for you to talk about the cat
Video thing?
because that was part of that was getting new people into the museum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so this is back in 2012, where cats and internet culture were at their peak.
Big time for cats, yes.
So I was at the Walker Arts Center at the time, and Katie Hill, one of my colleagues, and I, we thought it'd be interesting to take YouTube videos that you're watching alone on your phone or on your computer and sending to your friends on social media. But what if we made a film festival where you watch all those collectively together outside? So we thought cat videos was the perfect subject for it. We kind of put together a call and a blog post saying we're going to take submissions for the first Internet Cat Video Festival at the Walker Arts Center. We thought 50 people would show up. We'd have a case of beer. We'd have a good night, and we'd go home, right?
Yeah.
It went viral in about 4 hours.
Oh, my God.
So this is back when blogger culture too. So it got picked up by Gawker, and then it just lit up. So we had all this media attention because it's that, the high-low of the two things is just too delicious to
Yeah.
jump on, right? So that doesn't mean anybody's going to come.
Yes, very true. Very true. Just because people are talking about it on TikTok doesn't mean they're going to be there. Yeah.
But then we started getting media requests for it, and ended up getting like 60 media requests for this event. And media, like the range was like the Atlantic's coming and like Jezebel's coming. It's like the full range.
Wow.
Vice was coming to shoot a documentary on one of the cats, and like lined it up with it. So anyway, I know you do event productions. You'll understand this.
I'm into this.
So I went from like 50 people to maybe we're going to get 500 to maybe we're going to get 1,500 to the day before it said, I think we're going to get 5,000 people.
I'm just like, how many chairs,
Yes.
egress, like.
Yeah. And this is outside, so fortunately on a big hill, and it's free.
Okay.
So I was looking, how many food trucks can I get here?
Food trucks, yeah.
How many bike racks can I get here? How many porta potties can I get delivered?
Yep.
And then I need a bigger screen and a bigger sound system.
Yep.
So I bet on it, and I doubled everything. Spent like 50 grand. Like,
oh, that's such a. Yeah, so
and my boss was like, "You're nuts.
You're
There's
crazy.
no ways coming to your thing." And like, so we did it, and 13,000 people came.
13,000? Oh my God.
And it was only limited by space because we had people spilling all over the hill. The freeway was shut down 2 directions trying to get to the museum. And it was on the front of the art section, New York Times the next day, this thing. And now, so we actually made a 90-minute reel of like cat videos that are in categories. So it's like documentary, foreign film, comedy, and like broken
my gosh,
up.
so funny.
And then there's a best of at the end where people voted on it. So and the person that actually won is from Seattle, filmmaker here in Seattle, Will Braden, who's still running the Cat Video Festival 12 years later here. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And ironically, I live like less than a mile from here in Seattle, so I know Will really well. So it became this kind of one-off thing. And then I started getting calls from places like, will you bring this to our museum? So I took it on the road for a year.
Oh, I didn't know that part. Okay.
And we toured it. And then the second year, we did it at the Minnesota State Fair, which is the second largest state fair behind Texas in the country. So we did the grandstand at the state fair. People paid $30 to watch cat videos that are completely for free online. The night before Depeche Mode played and had 7,000 people, Macklemore, Heidi Macklemore, 2013 Macklemore, played the night after and had, I believe, 10,000, and we got 12,000 cat videos.
Can you imagine the ego blow where you're like, outdone by cat videos?
But we had some of the real cats there. We had Grumpy Cat there, and like, all these like famous cats actually at the festival.
That's so creative.
Animal Planet did a live stream of it. But so it became a thing. But the bigger thing is that made money for the museum. So I actually turned that into a revenue engine for the museum. It became something that also drove more people. So back to kind of your original question, we were able to track from that first event, from those 13,000 people that came, because we had an email sign up for this free event.
Mhm.
We had 80% of those people never been in a museum before.
80% had never been.
And then we were able to track them. They came back.
Really?
And the higher percentage than anything else we'd done there, because a place that had meant nothing to them in the community
Yeah.
suddenly had value.
And you're associating it with a positive experience, and they
Correct.
trust you that it will be a positive one
Yes.
again.
I remember even the security we had there, they were saying like, this is the most well-behaved, like there wasn't even any trash left, or they put their trash
Yeah.
away. Uh, but for me, like what the real takeaway is that, was it about cat videos? Yes, but in a sense it wasn't. It was about watching cat videos together.
Together, community.
And there's very few of those things that we have that communal kind of event anymore. There even used to be more of those online that you'd have everybody's watching the Super Bowl and commenting on it. We get a few of those, but not as much. But having it in like real world in there was, there's nothing more surreal than seeing these edited Vine videos you put together and then everybody laughing in unison at a cat knocking something off of a dresser, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, long story, but that's
No, I appreciate you sharing it. I think it's so interesting. So do you have anything, is there going to be a cat film festival for Seattle?
We did it here at the Sculpture Park.
You
this
did?
fall.
Okay,
Yeah.
I missed it.
We'll do it again next year. So yeah, you will not be left out.
Good. Well, I am curious about, you mentioned that event did bring people back and you're measuring that. How do you measure success with a museum or anything with art? Because I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
it's so intangible. So sure, you can count donations and ticket sales, but you can't really count how moved somebody was.
Yeah.
So what factors are you looking at to define success?
There is some of that that's hard to measure with it, but I think it's that you want to be of value to your community. How do you making people's lives better? And that could be different things on different days for what people need. Sometimes people are coming in and they want to be challenged. Sometimes people want to learn something. Sometimes, as we're finding right now, people actually want to just turn the world off and can have 2 hours and just look at pretty paintings and not think
Reach.
about the outside world, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's been an interesting shift, where instead of wanting to come and maybe see something that is more challenging, we see a lot of people coming in now, can I like not be challenged for a little bit?
Yes. Yeah.
And can I just feel better about life? I think our role is we need to do all of those things. So how do we balance that out and be flexible enough to be different things on different days? But the real measure is that, do people find it a place that you actually come? So for me, I think I'll give you two metrics for it. One is when I've come into communities and work in museums, one of the first questions that I would say is, I ask you, like, what do you think of the Seattle Art Museum? And most people are like, it's great, it's good, it's here in the community, and have something positive to say. And then the follow-up question, when the last time you've been?
Mm.
And often it's either years ago, I maybe went to a wedding at the Sculpture Park 10 years ago, or I went on my fourth grade field trip.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what you want to have, and what I hope to have, is to say like, oh, I was there, last week, I was there a month ago, and I brought my family, or I came through on my lunch hour. So it's moving the museum from being, it's great that's in the community, to a thing I use.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing is, I want it to be a place that is useful to people.
You opened up a restaurant, and last time you recorded the episode I listened to, I think it was back in
Yeah.
March, and you were starting to put in seating, and I think open a restaurant. So I think you opened up a new entrance by the Hammer guy.
Yeah.
Has that all proven to have been worked out?
It's helped. I mean, we were open there. A lot of I'm kind of working through with architects now, and we're kind of working through all the phasing. We're going to basically use the same restaurateur, but we have a new concept restaurant that is going to start construction in January, but will be open before World Cup. So we'll be open by late April, May. But it's going to be an Asian Latin fusion kind of restaurant. It'll have, things that are earlier in the day. It'll have quicker kind of lunch options. And then we're going to go to a full restaurant at night, seated restaurant with the full bar. That'll be open till 10 o'clock. It'll be there to help support other events that we're doing. We're going to start doing films again, so you can come and see film and get a drink, take it into the theater there.
Okay, Scott, we did an episode about movie theaters, and I can't let it go, because I was thinking about why isn't there a better space to gather before the movie and after the movie? Because that's what you want to get together and talk about before, and you want to talk about it afterwards. So same with whether it's the film or the art. I think it's a genius idea.
So I think there's something with it. But anyway, the target audience I really want is that we're going to change hours. We're going to change a lot of things in the next year and a half here. So I'm doing a really extensive audience research study right now to understand who our audience is and who it's not, and who it could be. But I think one of the markets that we've not done a good job is, how do we really attract people like yourself they're looking for something after 5 o'clock, but maybe before you're going to an event or going home, that can come, walk through a gallery, have an experience, have a drink, meet your friends, all those. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like you did a good job coming in for the first year, probably studying it, and
Yeah.
it sounds like you're still kind of doing that before you make changes instead of coming in and be like, here's how we do
No.
things around here. We show cat videos and that's it. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but I will tell you, I would say my first impression of certain things, there's things I can tell you I was wrong.
Mm,
And because that impression coming in, and I think it's even understanding the demographics of downtown and the demographics of Seattle proper versus some of the outlying communities, it's different than other cities. So it's really to understand kind of there, then where is your spot in.
yeah, I think it takes restraint when you come into any new position to be like, well, I think it should be this way. This is stupid how they're doing this.
Exactly.
And then, yeah, a few months later, you're like, oh, I get why they do that.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, you mentioned FIFA, so that's a perfect transition into my next article here, which is that there's a Visit Seattle press release that I'll link in the show notes. There are 4 matches for FIFA to be played in Seattle. That's going to be June 15th, 19th, 24th, and 26th. Sorry to interrupt the episode. After recording, I realized there's actually 6 games that FIFA will be playing in Seattle, so I forgot to mention July 1st and July 6th. Okay, back to the episode. And one of the matches is going to be with the USA playing. So it's going to be a huge impact for us here in Seattle. Do you have any specific plans on how to take advantage of and how to prepare for the FIFA impact?
Yeah, we've been planning for a while, and it's nice seeing the matchups up now because we can kind of see where we can lean in with some of our collection
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So we happen to have a really large Aboriginal art collection.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So we're going to lean into that. We've already had some groups actually reach out, Australian groups, to maybe rent space and be able to do something at the museum, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to get a lot of these kind of things in the kind of before the paywall. So get some of the seating in place, new restaurant, get some things out by Hammerman outside, but really how we invite an audience that may be coming through downtown and through the streets during FIFA. We'll have things in our shop. We're going to have some artist design soccer balls and soccer kits and some kind of things in that you'd expect. We're working on having some foosball games out that people can play and some other
Kind of
things.
lure them in and they'll be like, hey, while you're having fun, come on in.
Check out some other stuff. So keep doing that. And then the big thing of that is we want to link downtown to the Olympic Sculpture Park because the waterfront, it's going to be one of those major ways that people are going to go from the stadiums up to the fan zone at Seattle Center. And if you're going up there and you go up Broad Street, you go right through the sculpture park. So we've been concentrating on the sculpture park to put new wayfinding in. A lot of people don't know there's even restrooms up there and don't know there's parking and so it's free. So we're leaning into that, and then we're going to do artist design mini golf up at the sculpture park over the summer. So
artist designed mini golf? Okay, I like that idea. I love that. Okay, so when it comes to tourism, I'm curious your strategy. And you mentioned a little bit about this, but I was thinking about the City Pass, which is where you buy a pass and you can either go to the Space Needle or Sam or some of these other ones. I guess, is that working well? And what other things work well to help with getting the tourists to come? Yeah,
those can work well. I mean, they can work well about awareness of somebody that may not come to your thing, but because it's included the pass, they'll come check it out. I would say from a business side, financially, those aren't great.
Oh.
You get a very small percentage of those.
So the play is just to get...
The play is kind of awareness to be out there and be able to do it. Really, it's like, how do we tap into, for Sam in particular, like we are a block away from the market. We're a block away from the waterfront. We know there's millions of people coming through both of those sites. How do we get them to come up down the street a little bit and check us out? And part of this is that we need to kind of make that welcoming experience and kind of roll out our doormat here and make it cooler and make it funner. And the other thing is that are we even open the right hours for that?
Yeah.
So it's looking, again, this is partly that research of doing all this work and then building up a reputation. And I think that's where marketing has shifted so much. You're moving away from kind of that marketing where you're putting up billboards, this isn't the way it's done anymore, right?
Right.
So, it's even moving away from even building brands to building how to get influencers.
Yep.
involved.
I was just thinking of influencers walking through the Sam, and I can picture the TikTok of their experience. Yeah.
This is where, my prior museum, we were fortunate to be like the one big museum in town in Tulsa. But every time somebody came through on a concert, time somebody came through shooting a film there, we've got Ethan Hawke walking through, doing the Lowtown thing. He's like in the museum and doing things. So you start to build, then the museum feels cool because of association with it. So we still need to do some of the traditional things we do. We still need to do some of that marketing. But I think the layer is, and what I want it to be is like when you come to Seattle, if you're a tourist coming in, like, oh, we got to go to that place.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it all over online and we got to go check that thing
Right,
out.
not like an afterthought. Are there any, speaking of kind of downtown, are there any partnerships that you're doing, whether that be with some of the sports teams or
Yeah.
DSA, Visit
We're
Seattle?
working a lot of that. Yeah. DSA, working with DSA. I'm on that board too.
Oh, you're busy.
But we're working right now. We're leaning a lot into sports. So we have a partnership coming up with the Mariners that we're working on. We've got several of the other professional teams, but also working with some of our other fellow, cultural nonprofits where we can have more partnership there, but also working with the market and working with things that we can do directly with the waterfront. But I really want us to start expanding our partnership out. So we're thinking about, for profits as well as nonprofits, not just in the,
Mhm.
nonprofit sector, and also some things that might be surprising. A lot of museums are moving into like working with fashion brands to do collabs for their shop.
Hmm,
I'd like to be moving into that space. Thinking about ways that we can do stuff for other organizations or our brands popping up at their site in ways that maybe you wouldn't expect.
right.
So I just think there's a lot of opportunity there. And I will say historically, that's not been where Sam's been. It's been a little more academic and insular. We want to turn it around.
That's incredible, Scott. I just feel like Seattle's so lucky to have you. I'm so glad
No.
that you came in here. Well, and I think that I don't know, the more that I do these interviews, the more I'm just so glad that we have the leaders that we have in place because they work so well with each other, they know each other, and they're excited to try new things, and you're, echoing that
I
here.
appreciate that.
So our last article is going to be about Chateau Ste. Michelle. They have a new owner. So Washington's largest wine producer, Chateau Ste. Michelle, sold to the Wyckoff family. And we don't have a sum for how much that is. And just a brief history, a reminder that Chateau was owned by Sycamore Partners, a private equity firm. And they had previously bought it from a tobacco giant, Altria Group, in 2021. So it's been with this private equity group, and the Wyckoff family came in and bought it. When the private equity company came in, they did move wine production out of that Woodinville property. Something about the Wyckoff family is they established their agribusiness back in 1950. So it sounds like they've already been working with Chateau for the past 40 years. So this isn't going to be too new to take it over. I also wanted to mention there's been a revolving door of CEOs. There was this guy, Ted, who was there for almost 20 years. So he's there for a long time. Then you've got Jim, who was there for 2 years, 2018 and 2020. Then David Deary, again, 2 years, 2020 to 2022. Sean Conway takes over kind of beginning of 2023 to 2025. And then he leaves this year, and we have co-CEOs David Bauman and Anna Mosier. So that is a lot of turnover, right? You don't see a lot of turnover in museums, do you, with CEOs?
It depends on the museum. Like, so yeah, that's a whole other
Drama.
topic.
Okay, so that's kind of the recap of the story. Is there anything you wanted to say on that before I ask my questions?
No, I think it's just really interesting. I mean, I know obviously, the brand coming in, and it's something that we did a lot of wine events in my prior job. So we had some relationships there, and I was hoping to get one of the concerts, who I know is a separate entity that comes in and does that, but I haven't been out there for one of those events yet. But
They're so fun. I love going out there. This article kind of made me think about just with like private equity and this like rich family. What are your thoughts on the role of both private equity and billionaires in the art space?
yeah.
And I'm thinking about them owning museums and they're owning movie production studios. And now
Mhm.
you've got this one type of person curating art. However, you also have somebody creating place for art to happen. So there's like this
Right.
balance. What do you think?
Well, I think it's an interesting thing. 'Cause you're seeing more of that. You're seeing more of these large private collections. The Broad is a good example in LA, which is a private collection.
I don't know. What is it?
It's a Broad Museum, which is a big contemporary museum in LA.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you should check it out.
I
next
will.
time you're there. But you're seeing more of this, where these large collections, instead of historically, like we've been fortunate at Sam, having people build those collections gifted to a museum to be able to showcase it, saying like, I'll just open my own museum
Mhm.
and do my own thing. And there's some benefits. At least the public's able to experience it that way, and it's good. There's people that are collecting art and supporting art and be able to have it happen. I think as we get less and less people controlling more and more of that, there's a certain similarity in all of it. I think you
Mhm.
don't have the space for unique things to kind of happen, that more of those indie things that pop up and the surprises and room for things. And it's much, much harder than for artists that are maybe trying to break through to jump up to that level as
Right.
well.
Yeah. I agree. I feel torn because it's good to have the money from the billionaires and they can, not that it's
Hmm.
all bad, but like you said, it does narrow down whose art can be seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I just thought about this. For Sam, how involved are you in the curating of that art? Or do you have somebody who is a curator? How many people are curating art?
6 curators. We have 6
Six.
curators at the museum.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have a couple positions we were hoping to fill here soon. So we should be around 8 or 9 really at the museum. total. So I oversee all of that. I do have some input in it. I try to stay out of directly curating things. I think that
It'd be
some
hard.
directors do. It's
Yeah.
problematic, but
Yeah. I feel like that'd be hard because you were a curator.
yes,
So
yeah.
that
And
would
there's
be
parts that my curating, I will say I'm the curator, but I'm also the curator that people would always use air quotes and they call me a curator because the stuff I did was like, yeah, cat video guy, sure.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so this article talks about Chateau coming in and having a new owner. Sam isn't really owned by another company or private equity or anything like that, but you do have a board that you have to report to.
Yes.
So take us into that boardroom. What are the types of conversations that are being had there? And like, is it hard to disagree with them because are they stuck in their old ways? What is that dynamic like?
The board here has actually been really supportive, and I think they recognize that the museum has needed a change, or I wouldn't be here.
True. Yeah.
I mean,
Good point.
my background's pretty known, and I'm an unusual candidate. I'm actually the only art museum director of a major museum in the country right now that has a studio art background.
Really? So all those people aren't
Art
artists?
historians or people come out of finance or marketing.
That kind of reminds me,
yeah.
there's a big path of people from CFO to CEO.
Mhm.
And so you've kind of got this one path that's
it's a very, very weighted to one path. I mean, I would say over 80%.
But you out of anyone would have not you, but like
Yeah.
an artist would have a great perspective.
It's just, it's not been where the pathway has been. And I'm a very much an anomaly. And it really, by now I thought that would change a little bit.
Sure.
But I come at it as a maker and rather than an academic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of it, my risk tolerance is super high.
Mm-hmm.
My experimentation tolerance is super high.
Yeah.
And I think it's part of the process. I'm also a little bit like, let's just do it and figure it out as we're going.
Yeah.
I think it's also, having a lot of event background too. It doesn't matter how well you plan it, something's going to happen.
Something will go wrong at every event.
So
I
you
always
got to
say
pivot.
that, yeah. Yes.
So all of those things I think have made me well suited for where I think museums are going and being places that are more dynamic, places that have to think about multiple types of experiences, thinking about audience first, thinking about things in a slightly different way. So, back to your question of the board has been, really supportive here. I mean, they definitely have been supportive. They know that I'm really working through a lot of change management, pushing with them, and they've been right there with it. That isn't always the case. I know a lot of colleagues where they run into conflict and that can go sideways in a hurry. If you want to dig a little bit, look what happened to Philadelphia at their museum recently.
Ooh,
yeah,
they a lot of tea today.
Yeah, I know. This is a good one people can dig into, but if you want to see, it is a full soap opera. So
okay,
it should be a Netflix short sometime soon, but they've had an issue around a rebrand that kind of went wrong.
Okay.
And a lot of board issues and other things with it. So the biggest thing with the board and the relationship is don't surprise them. And that was some of the best advice I got early on in my career is that the board can handle and will support you in almost anything. If they don't hear about what the thing is in the newspaper or from their friend, you tell them first.
That is great advice.
Yeah.
Simple but great advice.
Exactly.
It reminds me, I don't know if you remember that movie 12 Angry Men way back in the day. That's what I'm picturing a board is if like you have an idea and you have to change 12 people's minds of like, no, this is what we should do.
And it could also work the other way too, is it's getting the board excited about it because they're also some of your funders and getting people excited to champion it going forward and then also getting staff behind it and the community behind it. I feel really lucky right now that we have alignment on the board, we have alignment with the staff, and we have alignment with our key supporters and stakeholders. So that's the thing you dream of, where you can go
absolutely
and really push it. And I think hopefully we can keep that momentum going forward. But yeah, the board, it's like having, in my case, I've got 63 board members.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I've got 63 bosses. So not everybody, of course, is equally involved. And there's committees and there's kind of a, subset of committees that are kind of the people that are more engaged on a daily, weekly kind of basis. But it's a lot of communication. It's a lot of keeping people apprised of things. But I also view it in the other way. I have people I can lean on. I've got lawyers. I've got marketing people. I've got people that have incredibly successful business people. I just had a group yesterday that we put together around data and innovation of a subset of the board and just looking at, numbers and audience analytics and things. And I've got people that do this for, enormous companies that I can ask them and they can give me advice on it. It's great.
It's one of the pros, I think, of nonprofits when people are so passionate about a mission and they're not doing it for the money and, they want to help you out in that way. Is there anything else you want to say about whether it's this article or boards before we close?
Yeah, I think that, anybody that works at the board in kind of nonprofit space, I think part of it is I think it's also being part of recruiting those boards and really thinking about if you're smart about kind of how you assemble your board and think about needs you may have in the future, that can really work in your favor. And, it's a longer story, which I won't go into, but I had an incident that happened in Tulsa where I had actually recruited onto the board somebody who was part of the police union. And when we had an issue with an artwork that actually offended the police union, I had somebody that could go for the board with me to go forward and actually talk to them directly, and we got it turned around. But I
Wow.
had the relationship, and I built it with the idea of that, this might be
Like, this
valuable
might come in
someday.
handy. I feel like having a cop on my team might come in handy.
So you never know.
Yeah, you're like building your little like superhero group to tackle any problem you
Exactly.
have. I love that. All right, Scott, we're gonna close out. My question I've been asking everybody is, what do you do to get motivated when you don't feel like doing anything for work?
I make playlists.
Playlist.
Yeah, so I've DJed for 25 years.
Right.
So
Okay.
is that part of it? But I find it relaxing if I'm dealing with like mountains of email, doing other things. I'm kind of like I know that I'm procrastinating,
Mm-hmm.
writing the thing that I don't want to write. I'll go into Spotify and start building
Give us
playlists.
a song that you'd recommend right now?
Oh, right now. So I do a top 50 songs of the year every year. I've done it for like 20 plus years. I do it as our Christmas. I send it as our Christmas card from our family as my playlist. Just like it feels very, very weirdly self-serving, and my family has
It
to
just
ride
feels
along
like,
with that.
like when your kids give you, yeah, I don't know. I love it. It's good.
So I've been kind of pulling that together, and it kind of depends on as you're kind of going through things and picking out what songs. But I like the Wet Leg album from this year's.
Wet Leg?
Yeah,
Okay. Is that the artist? Okay, I'll look it
you
up.
have to look it
All
up.
right, Scott. Well, it's been so fun having you here. I really appreciate it. And for the listeners, I think I've got one more guest this year, and then I think I'm going to take the 2 weeks off. There wasn't really an episode that made sense to replay, but I don't know. After chatting, you're getting my creative juices flowing, so maybe
Good.
I'll come up with something creative to do in the 2 weeks. I am going home to Oregon for Christmas for a bit, but we've got more shows in 2026. It's going to be really exciting. We're approaching our 100th episode. We're approaching our 2-year anniversary, and I'm putting together a party. So we've got a lot going on in 2026. So once again, Scott, thanks for hanging out with me today. And thank you to Carrie Hall and STG for hosting this recording.
Thanks for having me.
This has been The Weekly, with production assistance from Nick Patry. If you liked what you heard, rate us and write a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. We love listener feedback, so if you have any story suggestions, comments, or complaints, email us at info@theweeklyseattle.com. Make sure to check back next Sunday for the latest local business news. We'll see you next time.